In 1347, a ship arrived at a Sicilian port carrying sailors who were already dying. Their bodies were covered in black swellings the size of eggs, oozing blood and pus. The port authorities ordered the ships out immediately. But it was already too late. Within months, the Black Death had begun its march across Europe. This is not just a story about death. It is a story about what happens when the world falls apart. The plague had traveled from Central Asia along trade routes for years before reaching Europe. Merchants, soldiers, and caravans carried it unknowingly from city to city. By the time anyone understood what was happening, it was impossible to stop. The Black Death was caused by a bacterium called Yersinia pestis. It traveled through fleas on rats, the same rats that lived in every home, ship, and market in medieval Europe. There were 3 forms of the plague. All 3 were deadly. Bubonic plague attacked the lymph nodes, creating painful black swellings called buboes. Pneumonic plague attacked the lungs. Victims drowned in their own blood within days. Septicemic plague entered the bloodstream directly. Death came within hours. No symptoms, just death. In the summer of 1348, the plague reached Florence, one of the wealthiest cities in Europe. Within months, 60% of Florence's population was dead. Bodies piled up faster than they could be buried. Gravediggers demanded impossible wages. Then they too began to die. The smell of death hung over every city in Europe. People tried everything to survive. They burned herbs. They locked themselves indoors. Nothing worked. Doctors had no idea what caused the plague. Some believed it was bad air. Others believed it was poisoned water. The famous beak mask worn by plague doctors was filled with herbs and flowers. They thought it would filter the bad air. It did not work. Many doctors died alongside their patients. Entire villages disappeared from the map. In some regions of France, 90% of the population died within 2 years. In England, the plague killed so many farm workers that crops rotted in the fields. Famine followed plague. Winter followed famine. But here is what history often forgets. The plague did not affect everyone equally. The poor died at far higher rates than the wealthy. Cramped housing and shared water sources made them far more vulnerable. The wealthy fled to their country estates. The poor had nowhere to go. Trade collapsed. Ships sat empty in harbors. Merchants refused to travel. The economy of Europe ground to a complete halt. And yet, buried within this catastrophe were the seeds of a completely different world. With so many workers dead, those who survived could demand higher wages. For the first time in centuries, ordinary people had economic power. Land that had been controlled by the same families for generations suddenly became available. The rigid social hierarchy of medieval Europe began to crack. New ideas spread faster because old authorities had been weakened. Scholars began questioning systems that had failed to protect them. This questioning would eventually lead to the Renaissance, the complete rebirth of European thought and art. By 1353, the worst of the plague had passed in most of Europe. But the world it left behind was unrecognizable. Between 1347 and 1353, the Black Death killed an estimated 75 to 200 million people worldwide. That was between 30 and 60% of Europe's entire population. Some regions took 200 years to recover their pre-plague population levels. The Black Death was not just a medical disaster. It was the event that ended the medieval world. It proved that no amount of wealth, power, or status could protect you from a microscopic enemy. It proved that the systems humans build are far more fragile than they appear. And it proved that even from the darkest moments in human history, the world finds a way to rebuild. The plague is over. The world it created is the one we still live in today.